ships or ship Z? Only you can decide. Find out more at shipzorz.com.
Hi everyone, this is Irina bringing you your new Supply Chain Minute. Today we're actually going to focus on some of the misconceptions that are tied around consumer returns in retail channels, but specifically as we've seen returns increase in the e-commerce channel in 2020. Consumer returns in 2020 accounted for a total of $428 billion worth of value of goods, which is enormous. And specifically, returns that are tied to e-commerce purchases where consumers couldn't necessarily try the product or had many choices and purchased them all and then decided to return 90% of them, that we've seen the rise of that. And so it's now incumbent upon both consumers and retailers to improve the education around returns and the process around returns. So one of the first things that we really need to understand is what's the problem? Why is there a misconception and what may that misconception be around? So specifically for consumers, I believe that one of the main misconceptions is that as a consumer, you believe that the product, once you've returned it, whether that be through your e-commerce or directly into the store, you assume that that product can be put back on the shelf and resold to the next customer who demands it. And that's fundamentally incorrect. For a company to be able to put that product back into operation and use, they would need to go through a series of inspections, potentially repackaging, and relocating that product to a place where it's closest to the cohort that demands it. And sometimes the costs associated to the process of preparing that product to be sold again outweighs the actual benefit of using that product, which leads to an estimate £5 billion worth of goods ending up in landfills that can't be reused every year. And we need to shift that from destruction to them being resold, and we need to push for a shift in the overall approach to purchasing and returning with an understanding of what the impact of these goods actually ends up being on the environment and on the availability of goods, and specifically actually on the cost of goods. And so this leads us into the misconception for businesses. From a retailer perspective, returns are very much tied to the good customer service. And so unfortunately, the process of easy returns and facilitating an open return policy for all goods sold is oftentimes synonymous with good customer service, which is fundamentally incorrect, because what that means is that brands are not properly preparing their customers for making a purchasing decision, rather taking a hit and a risk towards their bottom line to provide this open door policy for returns. So the misconception there is that we have to do it this way because it cannot be done better, with impacts, again, to the bottom line, to forecasting, to inventory carrying, and to the environmental and social responsibilities of these organizations. And so addressing both the misconceptions on the consumer end, but also on the supply chain end within the organization, can help us curtail the overall impact of returns in general across the industry. So I'll leave you with one final note. For a total number of $1 billion worth of sales in 2020, the expected returns to correlate with that value was $100 million. This is according to data gathered by the Reverse Logistics Association, and that is a huge percentage of total value sold. So I want to bring this up to the community and understand, what are you guys doing in your own organizations? How are you learning from this, and what approaches are you taking to returns, and how do you manage that data, that inventory, and the physical movement and cost of supporting that infrastructure? Till next time, thanks everyone.